A lot of people have had a lot of things to say about this. And I definitely want to get you guys' thoughts about the teacher that went viral when it comes to the braids and things, having the students take down the hair. A lot of people have had things to say. I personally felt as though it was inappropriate, in my opinion. I think that it was very unprofessional. I felt like the children should not have been put onto social media, in my opinion. And I felt like they were monetized off of, honestly, for his platform. They were used for his financial gain from TikTok, and financial gain because he ain't have to go pay nobody to take his goddamn hair down. Okay. Although I do understand it was at the end of the day, everybody was getting ready to go home or whatever. I still feel how I feel was inappropriate and unprofessional. However, I did not think that he should have been fired. In my opinion, I don't think he should have been fired, but I think he could have been reprimanded in some sort, had a conversation with, limit what he could put on social media. You know what I'm saying? So those are my thoughts. What did you ladies think about it?
So they did ultimately fire him because I remember they suspended him.
I feel like that's still being speculated. I'm
Mm.
not sure. I don't think nothing. I haven't seen anything to confirm that he has truly been fired. And because it's the end of the year, I think that he was put on leave since the school year
Yeah.
about to be over with in like a week or two. That's what I think. And he could potentially, after the hype dies down, return in the fall. But that's what I'm thinking.
I'm gonna say I just don't think it's responsible on his part. Because for one, I mean, we not gonna act like we see stuff in the news all the time about inappropriate relationships between teachers and students. We see stuff all the
Mm,
time. Um, but I also feel like as the adult in the situation, you
mhm,
should be super careful to make sure that you're not creating an environment where people can speculate that about you. I just think it's irresponsible. I think maybe if he was like at Boys and Girls Club and he volunteered and did that, it'd be
mhm.
fine. But for you to be a teacher, I just think it's inappropriate. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I think it's irresponsible on his part.
Yeah.
Oh well.
So, what's her name? India Royale came out and she had something to say. She says, "No, hell no, I will not be explaining further." Then somebody goes on and says, "Man, I hate stuff like this for real because I was accused of sleeping with one of my high school teachers because I was always in his class and he would take me home and I would be at his house. And truthfully, I looked at him like an uncle and he treated me like his daughter." So then India responds and says, "I'm glad that that was something that worked out for you, but that could have easily went left. As a parent, you have to do what's in your child's best interest. It's best to be preventative because once it happens, it's nothing you can do to erase it." Okay. So that's something she mentioned. And then I wanted to get into this post because I liked how this guy really put this one together in my personal. So I want to check this out.
We're asking the wrong questions, but the teacher was reportedly fired for having a group of girls take down his braids in class. We're watching this video and we're asking, are his intentions pure and is this too intimate? But those are the wrong questions to ask because we can only answer them after somebody's been harmed. The questions we need to be asking are, what is being normalized by this interaction? And what feelings might this interaction be causing in a child? As a youth development professional, your intentions are irrelevant when you realize your job is to model behavior that can and should be replicated by other people in your position. So what is being normalized by this interaction is being live streamed, physical touch and proximity. And it's being normalized not only for the young people, but for everybody watching. And that's important. At best, this interaction creates a foundation for something called transference. Transference is when feelings and desires get projected from one person to another based on past relationships and unmet needs. Transference can create feelings for a kid that are inappropriate and unproductive for a teacher-student relationship. So a young person who has unmet needs for affection, attention, and validation might project feelings of admiration onto an adult who just introduced physical touch into their relationship. That in and of itself makes a young person more vulnerable to harm when those inappropriate expectations aren't met. if those inappropriate expectations are met, or if they take those same boundaries into relationships with other adults. Inviting physical touch into a teacher-student relationship creates fertile ground for grooming. That's the process a predator uses to build trust and emotional connection with a young person they intend to manipulate, exploit, or harm. They might use attention, affection, guidance, and special treatment to fill an emotional need from a kid's life. Then they'll desensitize that young person to physical touch and sexual topics, starting small and building up. All the while, they're testing their boundaries to see how far they can push before a young person resists or someone speaks up. The entire time, there's plausible deniability. The point is to slowly push the boundaries and make everybody involved question whether or not their suspicions are warranted. The kid, the parents, the people around the kid. So if something doesn't feel right, but you just can't put your finger on why, or it doesn't seem like a big deal, if it seems like a gray area, but just not big enough to speak up about, that's the point. Making people question their own instincts means the victim and the audience are groomed or prepared for the next step. So how can you tell the difference between someone who's unknowingly creating the conditions where transference might occur and someone who is grooming a young person and the people around them for abuse? You can't. If you could, kids would be a lot safer. There are people who will say that this sort of interaction is necessary to build culturally responsive relationships in school.
And then he goes on to say it's not. That's where the video ends. Any thoughts on that?
I think it was good. Go ahead, Bondi.
I mean, I agree. I've said it before. I guess I'll say it again. I do feel on some level like what is required from teachers does not always fit into a professional box. I also feel like when it comes to the kids being on social media, like I heard that, the parents approved their kids being on social media. A lot of these kids are already on social media. But when it comes to, being in somebody's hair is intimate, I understood what he was saying. Basically, anything you do with these kids outside of a very strict, this is what we're doing, outside of that, it can come off as if you are grooming them for more. And I agree with that because we know how people love to fuck these kids. But with this specific person, I feel like there is something to be said for him being very young. And something about him makes me feel like he may not have been liked a lot when he was in school. And so his relationship with these kids is coming from the place of finally feeling liked or appreciated for being a nerd versus being picked on.
Yeah.
Yes. So I feel like a lot of what he was receiving from all of this was validation that he may not have gotten when he was younger.
Yeah.
More so than him grooming the girls so that he can eventually have sex with them. And the only reason I say that is because it was a number of girls. Everybody had a rat tail comb. Which means everybody at school be doing each other hair. And I also grew up in an environment where you take testing. Once the testing is over, it's a very lax environment in the schools. I also spent a lot of time in my teachers' classrooms because people didn't like me and I didn't like people. So I also feel like, of course, you want to make sure you're being professional, and they didn't have to necessarily be taking out his hair, but I do sometimes wonder, you know what I'm saying? Like, do we want these kids to have good relationships with other people that are not in their family? Because I think a lot of this is sometimes like, you can't have a friendly relationship with an adult that's not in your family. When these relationships, and I'm not saying that's not what they're saying, but it kind of feels like, be careful. You can't be too cool with this adult, even though you see him every day, because he might be trying to fuck you. And I get it. You know what I'm saying? I do. I get it. But it makes me sad because I feel like I remember what it was like growing up and not really having a lot of interactions with adults that made me feel safe. So sometimes, like, what the kids get out of their teachers is because it's shit they're not getting at home. And I wish there was a better way for a teacher to be able to be sometimes more of a family member, or have a more familial relationship with these kids, instead of always having to keep such hard lines to make sure we're staying within boundaries. But I do think it is more important to stay within the boundaries. So I get it, but it did kind of make me feel like, damn, like, do we just really not want these kids to like their teachers at all sometimes? And also, I saw some stuff I didn't like as far as them trying to like adultify the girls. Like, I'm gonna tell y'all the visual that came into my mind. Like blaming the girls in some type of way, like, oh, they fast or some shit, or they like him, fuck ever.
Oh.
But this is what I want to say that came into my mind. Do y'all remember on Poetic Justice when they was at the picnic, the family reunion picnic, and Janet Jackson comes to this family picnic? Nobody know her, but for some reason, 5 minutes after sitting down, she has all of these young girls, kind of going through her braids, and she's talking to them, and you know what I'm saying? But it's like all of these young girls that are kind of in her hair, and it kind of felt just more like, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of the visual that came into my head when I saw him sitting there, because it wasn't like he was touching anybody. Like I could, you know what I'm saying? Like the arms are crossed, or I'm holding the frog. I'm on camera the whole time. So I felt like there was a lot of stuff being done to show that this is not me having an inappropriate relationship with them. Just simply us having a friendship amongst us as teacher student. However, again, I still agree with everybody. That's why I was just like, oh, well, that he got fired, because you do need to learn your boundaries. You do need to learn that they are not just your friends or anything. Like, I feel like you should have relationships with them, but you need to understand as an adult, there needs to be a line. And I do feel like there is something about this specific dude that he doesn't exactly see it. And I think we saw that when he got online crying.
I
You know
was
what I'm
just
saying?
about to say that. This,
I want.
Bonnie, you brought up a good point of maybe he wasn't liked when he was in high school. The reason why I felt so opinionated on like, no, like cut that shit out right now, is because I actually know somebody who went to UNT with me, and you could tell he was super duper lame, 5 foot nothing, couldn't pull the girls, and he ended up becoming a teacher, and everything that he does is like a flex or a projection on social media, and he's posting on social media to get clout because he finally feels like he's that dude. But the problem is he's operating in a childish mindset. If you need your ego stroked by these children, you don't see yourself as someone, as the adult in a situation.
Right.
So then it's a slippery slope of, if you
Right.
get gratification from being the popular teacher when you're there to
Will you get
educate.
it from sexual flirtation if the young girls like you? Will you
Exactly.
be able to sustain boundaries if you are
Right.
pressured in
Right. When
some
one is
capacity?
attractive,
Right.
Right.
or if you may
If
find an
Yes.
attraction to a younger, you just
Yes.
never
if your
No,
know.
I
goal
agree.
is gratification. So I think, and when, based on what you said about the video, when he was crying in the video and reading the text messages, to me it was clear that to me, I don't think this man operates from a fully adult mindset. Like
That.
he doesn't, because the way he was crying and reading the text message and they were calling him bestie, that to me, I wouldn't want you to, be an educator for my child. Now, if you had a child in the Big Brother Big Sister program, and maybe it wasn't your job to educate, but be more of like maybe an older sibling, peerish mentor, like a step above, maybe. But as far as education, like this dude ain't got it, and I I think they did the right thing. Now, I don't know about firing him. Maybe they fired him because of the social media policy. But when I say the right thing, I mean it's better to be proactive, because my gut is just telling me it's just not sitting right with me. The flex that he
Also,
thought social media was.
though, I do want to say something about the way social media responds to shit. Because in real life, it seemed like them people didn't have no issue with what the fuck was going on until y'all got online and started bitching a fit like y'all did. And I'm not
Right.
saying it was right or wrong, but there's something to be said for the fact that, it wasn't an issue until everybody started screaming about it being an issue. You know what I'm saying? And
I think
I
people
don't
called
know,
up to the school.
but and they did. And I want to know though, I want to know if there were, because people said there were no stories of him doing anything else. And I'm not saying that it's not something that wouldn't have happened in the future. I'm just, wondering, was there anything substantial? Because really, the crying video is what made me feel like, yeah, nah, nigga, you don't even know how to control your emotions in this moment. And you don't realize how there's a level of decorum you need to have even in this moment. And you don't even realize it. So that's the thing that made me feel like, yeah, whatever happened to him, I'm sorry that happened to you, baby, but whatever. Like, I really can't give a fuck too much. Because I don't, I don't trust men like that specifically, but I absolutely don't trust people who I feel like seem to only have young friends. And that's another thing. I was like, I need to see other aspects of this nigga to really like why die in the situation. But I was like, you know, the way you talk to them kids, do you have friends your own age? You know what I'm saying? Some of the weird shit he did made me feel like he's somebody that may not have anybody else around him but those kids. And that is how we get into the slippery slope situation. So yeah, no, I just felt like that video by itself was not enough for me to say he was grooming them, because I've seen kids take motherfuckers' hair out a million times in my life, growing up, being in school, after school, adults, children, you know what I'm saying? And it's just not, I feel like another, you know, I hate to say it like this, but like the way we look at a lot of things is corrupted. And it's not to say that people aren't corrupted, but even just fact, you know, everybody acting like, oh, the hair is intimate. No, it's not. No, it's not. You let complete fucking strangers do your hair. Why are you acting like every interaction with your hair is some intimate, my man washing my hair in the kitchen sink thing? Like, it's just, you know, like I
we
feel
gotta
like
question the principle, and we gotta question leadership.
Yes.
Because it seems, to your point, the why wait for it to get to social media for y'all to do something. So for him to feel comfortable enough to do this, let's question leadership. What the fuck y'all got
what's
going on at that school?
He only did what he felt was within the parameters, because y'all haven't said nothing about anything in the, you know, in the past, which is what he did mention too. He did mention that, you know, the office or whoever knows about it. But I still feel like he definitely brought it on himself, because once people was complaining on that live, TikTok don't save your lives. So from my understanding, so he, I guess, recorded his own live, saved his whatever he did, re-uploaded his live, put a voiceover on it, and said, "Let's start a pot." Well, you wanted to start a pot, and you started so
Here
hard.
we
You got
are.
started.
He said, "Let's start a pot."
I feel like people had already said
stirring the
something
pot
on
in the
the
video.
original live.
Oh.
You said what?
I said, I feel like people had already said something on the original live, which is why he reposted it, because he thought that people were going to be on his side, because this is something that's accepted by the other parents, by the other teachers in the school. Like, I think people, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, for those kids to be touching him is intimate. Intimacy doesn't have to be sexual. I also feel like being in the same classroom with the same person every day can be considered intimate, if you want to say that. Like, if it's a small group of kids, 20, like that's considered intimate. If it's a small amount of people that's in a small room with each other every day, like anything can be considered intimate. I do understand that people get paid to do hair, y'all, but I'm just saying the act of it by itself does not make it sexual, is what I mean, because that was the connotation a lot of people had to what was happening in that moment. And that's all I'm drawing reference to. I'm not saying whether it was, you know, it wasn't inappropriate for him to be doing. I'm just saying that's not alone. That's not enough for me to think he was grooming them to have sex with them later, is what I am saying. I also feel like people get y'all are weird about physical touch. A lot of y'all are. You know what I'm saying? And I get it, because people take advantage of kids all the time. So I'm not dismissing it, but I'm also saying that sometimes I feel like there's a filter that can be put on things even when it's not like that. And I'm not saying that this isn't like that, but, you know, just by itself, it wasn't enough for the grooming thing. Because he could be being nice to them kids in a classroom and they would still have a crush on him. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, which is even more reason for him to
ease back for his protection of himself and how he moves.
Right.
Because
I mean, can I be honest?
He learned a major lesson.
It's given, you know, it's given, you know, not super duper senior because you smart, but, you know, like Amanda Seals, you might be, you know, a spectrum or some shit. Like, and I'm not saying that to be dismissive. I'm just saying about the lack of awareness that I see happening with him. Like, you Google smart.
Well, I don't know. Because it's like, is it the lack of awareness and that's what it is? Or was it the fact that he was comfortable because that's the space that the school has allowed him to operate in? You know,
some of the shit I seen online, it make me feel like it's that, but it's also him being a little, you know,
on the spectrum
off. He's like that
you must
emo
be thinking
video
about
I
the
saw.
emo video.
I am.
I haven't seen it.
It just was very like
he
weird.
did look like very weird. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like,
I'm telling
it
y'all.
took me a minute actually to catch on to what was happening in the video. I was like, well, I had to keep playing it over. Like, what is? Oh, I get it now. It took me a few times Because I was so
Yes.
confused. Like, it was weird.
Yeah,
I
I'm
see what
not
you're saying.
saying he's unaware of what y'all are saying. I'm saying he's unaware of how he's coming off to people. Like they saying he
Gotcha.
seemed aware but didn't care. I'm like, but if that's the
No,
case,
he's
why did he get on camera and cry like that? He's
no.
not aware of
He's
how he's coming
convinced.
off.
He thinks he's correct. And he's
Yeah, it is given.
Yeah, yeah, and I think he thought he had more support than what he thought, which is why he came back
Yes.
on camera crying doing that video. And it's like, are you not reading the room? It's more people on your ass than not. Why would you come on here crying? They really finna dig into you now. What are you
I
Low-key,
mean,
doing?
like because
me,
them
if I
kids
was a
felt
student,
it's
I
given
would
because the
have
kids had his back. He thought that he was good. And it's like, why? And that's another thing.
right,
You're
right,
an adult. Why would you even think that the kids having your back is enough? Like,
right. But childish mindset. He thinks they're peers. You are
Mhm.
not peers.
Hey,
No, for real, we're
bestie.
not peers.
yeah, the bestie shit was weird to
Yeah.
me. It was weird
Yeah.
to me.
I
But a
don't
lot
know
of
if they
people
were
were making.
texting him though.
I think they were
Somebody said
texting
it
I
was
him.
thought they probably
emails.
found his social media. Well, I guess that's not good either. But I was thinking
I'm like,
they
what
probably
difference
found
does
him on
it
social
make?
media
If he was, I
and
mean, it don't
messaged
even
them. It was like,
matter.
hey,
I'm like, why does it matter? All this shit coming to your phone. Like you ain't about to
well,
go to
that's
the
true.
computer. You right here. Either way, whether it's an email or a text message or a DM, it's all right here.
They cut his email. I'm sure if he was on leave, they deactivated
Yeah,
his email.
they cut
So,
the email. Yeah, they did. They locked him out the system for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have had to been via text or social media. Thank you seriously though. She says, the more he defended himself, the more he reminded me of Michael Jackson and the sleepovers. What was so important that he couldn't stop his behavior? I don't think
okay.
children should meet the emotional needs of adults.
Agreed.
Thank you so much for
Period.
the super chat. That's a good point.
Agreed.
And whether Michael Jackson did anything or not, the optics, and that is what definitely
And
got
that's
this
what
young man messed up.
that's what I said once I saw that video of him crying. Like the making the kids, like even crying to the kids, felt like you're trying to make them feel sorry for you. And I want you to stop. Because it was
Emotional manipulation.
Hey,
yes.
I
Yeah.
ain't
Like
think
I
about
want you
that
to,
one.
because that's when I was like, yeah, nah, if you got fired, that's fine. I don't really care. Because it
Yep.
was the actual, like, you need to, like, in this moment as an adult, you need to pull it the fuck up and be like, I understand that, it needs to be cut and dry. It don't need to be
He gets satisfaction from these children.
from
It's
the
something.
sympathy of the children. Yeah.
They stopped something before it
It
went
happened.
too far. I agree. Yes, I agree.
Gotcha. That's a really good point. The emotional manipulation. I don't know what that didn't even cross my. Gotcha. Thank you so much, Saltwater Daughter, for
But
the
what
super chat. Mhm.
I
I
was
didn't
gonna
get
ask, would y'all
PDF
have felt
file,
the
but
way
it
if
was
it was a woman?
inappropriate.
I hate this delay shit that's
Yes,
happening today.
I've seen a lot of. I've seen a lot of videos where white black teachers have put up their videos in defense of him, showing that their students were taking down their hair. And for me, it's I just I don't like it. Not even just the sexual part. Because here's the thing: female teachers have been caught up in some shit too. Okay,
Yes,
when it
they
comes
Okay.
to
love
students,
That's
so
what I was
they
about to
can they
say.
can
13-year-old
violate
boys.
sexually.
Either way.
And it's been a situation with this white teacher messing with a young girl. But my thing is, it's just this. I don't like that. Like, I feel like they being used to take your damn hair down, and then you record it and you put it on your TikTok. Like, I don't like that. I just feel like it's still inappropriate, whether it's a male, woman. A lot of people said if it was a gay man, this wouldn't even be an issue. Are you silly? Are you crazy? Do you know how many people do not like gay men? Do you know how they would have
Right.
took him really down through there
Hmm.
off of that? Like, it would have probably,
And then
in
you
my
act
opinion,
like
been worse with
like
that one
that
than this
makes
guy.
him exempt from potentially manipulating children if he's a gay man too. Like, yeah, it'd be an issue. It'd be an issue anyway it goes because I feel like it's looked at the lens of educator, student, and then the law. It's that simple.
Right. So yeah, I mean, just for me, I would have felt the way whoever it was. I just don't think that's cool.
If I was one of the
Just
girls in the
unprofessional as
videos,
hell.
my mama would have whooped my ass. To be
Hello,
frank, my
and
mama would have
and
whooped
really
me.
would have, because it's like you already know how we operate. What in your spirit made you feel comfortable to do that? You know, that's not what we do. What made you feel so compelled? See, that's the problem, because it's giving you probably was more than likely following, trying to do what the other folks do. You can't do what everybody else doing. Absolutely not. And then I didn't like how he was saying some, most of the parents are aware of this or that. But that doesn't mean that those kids' parents. See, y'all, a lot. He did not. I never heard him say their parents. He said some and most. So I would hate for a teacher to ever assume that because Sarah, John, and Paul's parents said it's okay, that I'm going to say that as well. So I mean, nah, it's not a guarantee he got permission from them people family. But yeah, to answer the question, I would have felt away. Yeah. Saltwater daughter, thank you so much for the super chat. I didn't get PDF filed, but it was inappropriate. I also think the male teacher loves kids, unicorns, good man, Savannah. Content gets him a grown woman. Oh, so you saying the content gonna get him the okay then? Well,
I mean, women do love that
okay.
shit.
Well, I'm sure he got a lot of DMs. Thank you for the super chat. And I'm sure he got a lot of support. Now he can go be he really want to be Mr. Omega. Let me stop.
I'm gonna go back to my original statement that I always stand by, and that's that you can't trust no man with plaits.
It was the braids too. It's like you got these kids taking your hair down to go get these braids. You should have kept the plaits. But that's just where we at. Anything else on this teacher?
No.
All right.
Get some
Let's
fucking
go ahead
therapy.
and move.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good one.
And that one boy I know,
because he gonna need
I
it
told you
after
I
getting
know.
drugged the way he did.
He needs some therapy. The 5'0" boy I was telling y'all about, this is him.
Mhm.
Not literally, but that's how he operates. He needs some therapy too.